contacted by a gentleman by the name of Chuck Schwartz, who said he's got a recipe for lemonade that'll blow your mind. And it's his inspired recipe for success in life. 30 years of experience spanning the construction, information technology, accounting, business management consulting industries. Currently a partner in an office-based management consulting firm that helps small and medium-sized health businesses with understand and maximize their enterprise value. Plus, gives back to the community on a regular basis. He teaches adult learners computer basics. So, without further ado, Chuck Schwartz. Thank you, sir. Have a great time.
Is this on? Can you hear me? Good. Okay. So good morning. Well, welcome. So, thank you, Shannon. So I'm Chuck, and I am the chef of a recipe I call Chuck's Lemonade. I want to start by telling you all I get it. I've been here. About a year ago, I was sitting right where all of you are. I found myself unemployed for the first time in over 30 years. And lasted almost a year. 30 years. I also happened to find myself in some foreign place called Austin, Texas. Anyone gets the accent? You don't have to tell me now, but think about it. It's East Texas. So over this time, about a year, right? And again, after 30 years, and in kind of disbelief that that was actually going on, did a lot of walking, a lot of thinking, a lot of writing, a lot of journaling. We'll talk more about journaling in a little bit. But the writing, I do hope is going to make its way into a couple of books that I've been considering publishing. The journaling is what has inspired me to create this recipe called Chuck's Lemonade. So let me just advance that a second. Chuck's Lemonade. Find the gifts from negative experiences to create positive outcomes. Find the gifts, right? Think about that. A negative experience. How could a negative experience be a gift? It's possible, right? You all know the old adage, when life throws you a lemon, what do you do? Find the gifts. It's all about attitude. It's all about choice. In this last year, and I could have chosen the other way, I chose the positive attitude. I chose to look for the gifts. And what's interesting about it is it's kind of forced me to go way back in time, right? And I traveled back in my life to about 1985 or so and started writing and started journaling, started thinking, right? And thinking about some of the negative things that have happened over time and how some of those things were actually gifts that got me to where I am today, speaking in front of all of you. So it's a choice. It's an attitude. Think about the word, choice. You all have the choice, right? It's our choice how we want to wake up every day. What are the habits that we do every day? How do we live our life? How do we inspire others? How do we serve others, right? It's all choice. And yes, you can think this way while something negative is going on, and just the opposite might happen if you allow it. All of this that I just told you about is the inspiration behind Chuck's Lemonade. I'm going to spend the next few minutes sharing some of my stories with you and the stories of some others. And then I'm going to share my secret ingredients with you on how to make lemonade. So first, some stories. As I said to you, I'm writing these in a way that it's going to become a book. So I'm actually going to read you some of the passages of some of the things that I've been writing, and I'm going to make its way into a book, but I think you'll all appreciate some of this. Right? My story, a journey of highs and lows, finding myself, finding balance, and finding gifts. It's 1985. I'm 3 years out of high school. When I graduated high school, my parents surprised me with the news that they had no money for me for college. I had thought differently all along. I floundered for the better part of 2 years at 3 different colleges, trying to make it on my own, trying to pave my own way. Yeah, I'm going to need these. Sorry. I began as a classical guitar major, and you would imagine what a demand there was for classical guitar majors in 1985. I then switched to banking and finance. Why? I have no idea. I decided after 2 years to stop going to school, and instead, I got engaged to my girlfriend. And I took a job at a construction company where her father worked. It was a union job. It paid well, especially well for a recent high school grad with no college education. The overtime was abundant. I made more that year than I could have imagined, and I doubled that number the next year. I got married. We bought a house. We started a family. I blinked and 10 years went by. I was miserable at the job. I hated every aspect of it. It was a very blue-collar environment, and I believed I was a white-collar guy. I believed I could do so much more. At the same time, I felt trapped. I had created an environment that was now dependent on my continuing to work as much overtime as possible. I had a big mortgage, 2 new cars, 3 young children, and this left me very little time for anything else and little leeway to do anything else. In my mind, my soul was dying. I loved my family, but I felt trapped. It affected every aspect of my life, and I began to dislike myself. I decided I had to make a change, so I began searching help wanted ads. You hear what I just said? Help wanted ads. I had to look in the newspaper, something called the newspaper, right, and search help wanted ads. I was actually thinking this through the other day, saying, wow, what has happened in 30 years? Amazing. Anyway, I actually started the search. I created a resume that portrayed me in a very different light than the reality of where I worked. One job I applied for was for an operations manager position in a call center for a telecom company named 9X. 9X, who after a series of mergers and acquisitions is now known as Verizon. The job posting said college degree preferred, but work experience could take the place of this. I sent my resume. I get a phone interview with a recruiter, and I do well enough to get the next interview. The next interview is with a person, someone in middle management. I cannot recall the exact position any longer. I work for a construction company. I work in jeans and work boots and sneakers. So I bring a suit, dress shirt, and dress shoes, keep in my car, and I tell my boss and my coworkers that I take a long lunch for some reason, and I don't remember why I told them that any longer anyway. I drive to a McDonald's and change into my suit. I arrive on time. I am dying. I go in and meet with the middle manager. I ace the interview. I am invited back to do the interview with this person again, and I'm told that if this goes well, I'll be invited to another interview with a vice president, the person who will make the final decision. He informs, the person will make the final decision. I get the interview, I ace the interview, and I schedule the interview with the vice president. Again, I bring my suit to work, same story, same McDonald's, and I'm now sitting across from the vice president. He informs me after a few minutes that he is not going to offer me the position. He doesn't buy into the construction company. He doesn't buy into my story. And I don't have a college degree. I leave disappointed, and while I cannot remember all the details, I believe I cried when I got in my car. I don't believe I did, I know I did. I called my wife, I let her know my news, I yelled, I screamed, I voiced my frustrations, and I went back to work at the job I hated. I tell you all this because the disappointment of that day was in fact a gift. The words that vice president spoke stung me. I realized that if I wanted to be taken seriously in the white-collar world, Having my bachelor's degree would enhance my chances. I also realized I realized that day that I was very good at sales. I could sell a weak product really well. But what if this weak product were a better product? What if I were a better product? I chose that day to go back to school. Fast forward 2 years, and I will tell you these 2 years were living hell. 3 little kids, 80 hours a week at the construction company, hell. I graduate 2 years later with my bachelor's degree and a 4.0 GPA. Big difference when you're going to school in your 30s from when you're 18, and you're paying for it. My children attend and watch me graduate. A few years later, after changing jobs and beginning what would become a very successful career in business development, sales, and business management, I am contacted by my mentor at the college where I graduated from, and I am informed that I have been selected to the college's Gallery of Distinguished Graduates, and my picture is placed among my peers on their wall of fame. My picture is still there today. The disappointment of not getting that job that day was a gift, right? But a gift I chose to accept. I could have gone the other direction. I could have gone back to work, done my 30 years, and not satisfied myself, and not satisfied all the other things that happened. Not getting that job was a gift. Another story, much shorter, I promise. It's 2009. I am separated from my wife, and I am at the beginning of a very difficult divorce. Difficult emotionally and difficult financially. Along with all the turmoil I'm in, I began to realize I'm at a crossroad in my career. Great timing, right? Just keep piling it on. My time at the company that I'm working for now in 2009 was appearing to come to an end. I got the sense the company was no longer looking to grow, and I feared that they may not be around much longer. I overheard some info on the inside that heightened my fear. I began to put feelers out that I was open to a career change again. At the suggestion of my girlfriend, who always says I have a way of making things happen by putting it out there, I create a list of personal goals, and I tape this list to my closet door, a place she knew I would look every day while getting dressed for work. My goals that day read, find a new job making $200,000 plus a year, save $25,000, and save for and go on a nice vacation. 2010 came around, nothing. Nothing changed. 2010, little has changed. I grow unhappier at the same job. It's clearly beginning to affect the quality of my work, and I'm beginning to feel unproductive now for the first time in these 15 years. I go back to my closet again, and I list out my goals again. Some were very similar. Find a new job, making $200,000 plus a year, save $25K, save for and go on a nice vacation, but I added another broad goal. Be great in my relationships with my children and my girlfriend. The result? I get a couple of responses to ads I've answered, but no new job. 2011, little has changed at work, and I'm growing unhappier and impatient. I look at my goals list and I realize there was a flaw. My goals were all about me. I begin to do some inspirational reading and some soul searching, and I read about personal benefits of the concept of service and servant leadership. And I decide to make a change to the list, to make my list more about others and less about me. Number one goal on the list, love my children. Tell them I love them more. Show them I love them more. Be a great father. And track it. Think about that word, track it. Right? Hold myself accountable. Also, number one, love my girlfriend more. Tell her I love her more. Show her I love her more. Be a great boyfriend. And track this. Number two, help those less fortunate than me. Don't just say it, track it. Hold myself accountable. What an amazing concept, right? Doing more for others than for me. Help those, think about helping those less fortunate than me. Number three on the list, start a daily gratitude journal. Be grateful every day for the good things in my life. And then number 4, find a job. Number 5, save the money. Number 6, go on a vacation. My list becomes alive and I begin living the list. I track my behaviors, I track my giving, I track my service. I make it conscious. Job search, answering ads, contacting recruiters continues, and it's now October 2011. My girlfriend and I had just got back from Florida, a trip to Orlando with her mom for her birthday, and I arrived back in New York. Oh, I just gave you where I'm from. I arrived back in New York, and I arrived to a voicemail from a recruiter. Chuck, there's a position with a CPA firm on Long Island for the president of their technology consulting division, and they want to talk to you. Fast forward 3 months later, and I am now the president of one of the premier CPA firms in Long Island, New York, and running one of their consulting practices. Is it magic? I chose a different path, I chose a different attitude, and I didn't make it all about me. I chose this concept of service and thinking of others and putting others first. It's now 2012 and 2013. I continue this practice of writing down and tracking my goals with real measures. I continue to put others before me, continue a trend of gratitude, inspired reading, seeking to serve others before me, consciously serving others. I list my personal goals last. The result, I tackle some of the hardest and most adverse work of my career. I take it head on versus how I used to do things in the past. The results, I'm recognized by my company for my work. I begin to save money like never before in my life. I'm able to afford and pay for obligations with much less stress, and I significantly paid down some very serious debt. I take my girlfriend on a trip to London and Paris, and I take my girlfriend and kids on a cruise over the winter to the Caribbean. What a wonderful trip. Great memories. It's now June of 2013, and I continue the trend of tracking my goals and journaling, and including real measures and accountability. I continue to put others before me. June of 2013, I attend a users conference of a business partner of mine from the firm in New York in this place called Round Rock, Texas. It's somewhere in this place called Austin, Texas. I show up for the users conference, and I am approached by the son of the owner of the company who says, you know what, Chuck? We love what you're doing with us, and we see opportunity that we didn't see before. Would you consider joining us? We talk it through. What does that mean? I go back to New York, thinking about it on that flight back. And I get back to New York and I tell my girlfriend the news. This company in some place called Round Rock would like me to consider coming to join them. They want me to be a part of their long-term plans, their dreams. You know, I can't believe that something like this has happened to me. I throw together the framework of a 10-year strategic plan which served them, the needs of the two owners of the company, long before it served my needs. And I presented it to them. They made me an offer, I accept the offer, and I pick up and I come to Austin, Texas. Fast forward about little over 2+ years. Doubled the company size in the first year, doubled the company size again in the second year. We are the buzz of the industry. We are taking the industry by storm. I am being invited to speak at industry conferences. I'm recognized for my work. The company offers me a partnership, which I accept, and it's all good. And I go back and I sit down and I look at it all and I say, wow, how'd this all happen? It was clear, it was easy. I put it all out there, right? And I thought about it every day consciously, right? In journaling, in a gratitude journal, in telling myself what would make today great, and thinking about it and making it conscious and making myself accountable and all of those things. I made it happen. It didn't happen by accident, right? I didn't go looking. It started finding me. It's a great, great concept. 2014, I continue the process of journaling gratitude. I continue to incorporate more inspired reading. I track giving and serving. I'm reading books and blogs and anything I get my hands on, and the results: a strengthened relationship with my kids and my girlfriend, increased savings, further reduced debt. All good things are happening. I create a way of tracking and reviewing my behaviors and critiquing them and sharing the results with friends and loved ones and inspiring them to do the same. I began identifying the ingredients for what would someday become Chuck's Lemonade. And I'm going to tell you them very soon. My fiance, my girlfriend at that time became my fiance, joins me in Austin. We further strengthen our relationship and the relationship I have with my kids. 2015, continued journaling, continued tracking. I add a few new daily habits. Listen to that word, but we're going to talk about that. Daily habits. My daily behaviors begin to positively affect other areas of my life. I realize now I'm thinking about my next day's gratitude journal entry as I'm laying in bed the night before. This is becoming an active, conscious part of my life. I formulated an idea for the firm I'm with for attracting investors, a very creative way of raising growth capital. The results: I raised $2 million in investment capital for the firm I'm working with here in Austin to help fuel growth, fuel marketing, and fuel this great expansion that we have. I'm living a dream. And when I think about it, I know where it all comes from now. There's no question in my mind. We are the buzz of the industry. I save money for my upcoming destination wedding. My fiance and I build a new house in Austin. My relationship with my children strengthens to heights I have never seen it before. 2016, same story, continued journaling, continued tracking. My business partner breaches my trust, and it all falls apart. And that was about a year ago, where I started this whole story. I had a couple of choices. So number one, I chose me and what I believe in, and I left. I left what I came here for, and I left to pick up the pieces and move on. I didn't think I'd be unemployed for almost a year. That part I didn't expect. However, I spent the time walking, thinking, journaling, tracking, continuing to hold myself accountable, putting others before me. And guess what? Those dark moments, and I get it. I understand when you wake up that day, you don't have a job, and you're looking, and nothing's falling into place, and you're wishing it could be different. I get all that. I lived it. However, when you choose the other side, right? The journaling, the writing, the tracking, the accountability, and all the time that takes up, and serving others, the positive that comes out of it, the motivation, the inspiration, there's no way it can be denied. And it makes getting through those days a whole lot easier. And I encourage you. And again, I'm going to get to some slides in a few minutes. We're going to talk through this. We're going to talk through my ingredients for making lemonade. But I encourage you to do it. So here I am in Austin, and with little luck finding a new job, my now wife and I decided to take the plunge. And we continue with our life. We built a house here in Austin, as I told you, right? And we continued, and we went on our destination wedding and honeymoon as planned, right? Lots of good, lots of bad throughout this last year. forge ahead and we have our destination wedding anyway. Our family, our kids join us. It's a wonderful time. My son Brett makes a toast at our wedding. It was a wonderful day. 2017 is here now, and since that time I have started and launched a new business here in Austin with a woman that had an existing business and wanted to create an Austin chapter. This is the third time in my career I'm launching something new. I'm 52 years old now. I'm getting tired. I continue journaling, I continue tracking, I continue questioning, I continue dealing with all the adversity. I trust in and rely on my process. We're going to get to that point as well. I add answering questions every day during my journaling. What would make today great? What do I really want today? And I write it down every day. I track every process, every step forward, every step backwards, every step sideways. I begin sharing my habits, my journaling, my gratitude, and what will make today great with others. I recently shared this with my son Brett, who I mentioned a moment ago. And just a few days ago when he called me having a bad day. He's 26 now. He hasn't yet experienced enough highs and lows. Among the many things we talk about that day, I challenge him each day to answer those two questions. Or answer these two questions. What am I grateful for? What would make today great? So the moral of the story, go back to 2009, 2010, not finding a job at that moment. And I know this was a long story, right? But not finding that moment was a gift. The gift was the realization that I could put others before myself if I consciously was grateful for what I have and not for what I don't. If I strive to make today great, good things will naturally happen, positive outcomes. I created a new attitude. I created my course. I changed my course. Last story about me. This one's not about job searching, but I think you're going to like it. The experience and pain of divorce and thoughtfully understanding the reasons my marriage ended eventually led me to rediscover myself, my true self, and the man I wanted to be. It was a gift. However painful that was, it was a gift. Today I am married to my wife Renee, who's here with us. Not only is she my wife, but she remains my girlfriend and my best friend. I have also developed the most wonderful relationship with my three kids, Jonathan, Brett, and Alyssa. And I am the kind of father and role model I want to be. I am not only their father, but I am their friend in every great aspect of that word. There was a very painful period of time a few years back, early in my separation from my wife, where my son Brett did not want to speak to me. He couldn't understand why I left. He couldn't understand what was going on. Painful, painful, painful moment. But his not speaking to me, when I look back at it now, was a gift. The pain of his silence was so strong that it made me realize how much he was hurting and how much I loved him. I vowed to him and to myself not to give up on him. I called and texted him every day, even though he wasn't texting me back or calling me back. I reminded him every day that I would be there when he was ready to talk. Eventually, when he was ready, we went for a long walk on the beach and talked for hours. Each day of that painful experience was a gift. Now fast forward to just 6 months ago, and he delivers a toast at my wedding with Renee, and in his toast, he tells our guests that he considers me a best friend. That day, the day he chose not to talk to me was a gift. It put me in a position to work at it with him. And all the things I've talked to you about. I encourage all of you to take a look at www.markandangel.life. Mark and Angel are inspirational coaches, and they have a wonderful website and blog that I've chosen to incorporate into my daily habits. Mark talks of stories, and I'm going to just share a few of them with you right now, right? Because they're very relevant to what you're going through. So when I was 18, Mark says, I wanted to be a computer scientist. So I applied to 7 US universities known for computer science. But I got rejected by all of them. Soon thereafter, our high school guidance counselor told me to apply to the University of Central Florida in Orlando, which had a rapidly growing computer science and engineering program. Out of desperation, I did just that. And I got accepted and received a scholarship. And when I settled in Orlando, the move changed my life. The move changed my life. He didn't get what he wanted. He accepted something different. The move changed my life. I met Angel there, my wife and the love of my life, and I met a professor, Dr. Evelyn, who convinced me to switch from the School of Computer Science to the School of Computer Engineering, with a strong focus on web design and technical writing. The two skills I use today to run the blog you are reading about, right? A website that makes me feel happy and supports my family. If I would not have been rejected, I would have never found that gift. It's a way of looking at it differently, right? It's a way of not focusing on the negative thing that happened, but thinking through it and looking for the positive. He's told he doesn't write good enough. While in school, I began to enjoy my technical writing classes so much I decided to take a few creative writing electives too. I obviously fell in love with writing inspiring stories and expressing myself in prose. So I applied for a part-time editorial position at the school newspaper. I sent them 5 articles I had written along with my application. 2 days later, I received an email which cordially explains that my writing is not good enough. That Saturday, I go home with a bruised ego and tell Angel what happens. She hugs me and says, regardless of what anyone says, if writing makes you happy, you should keep writing, because that's what writers do. They write. After a bit more discussion, she adds, I like writing too. We should start our own writing club and write together. They now have a flourishing business. In other words, if my 5 articles hadn't been rejected by the school newspaper, the article you're reading right now would never have been written. He didn't give up. He didn't wallow in the negative. He chose a different path. He chose a different choice. After college, Angel used her business degree to land a head store manager position at a major retailer. She was in her 20s and she was running a $40 million store all by herself, although some of the regional executives thought she was too young. She was doing far too well for them to do anything about it. Until one day in 2009, when one of our floor managers got a DUI on a Friday evening and went to jail. He didn't have enough money to post $600 bail, so he called Angel to let her know that he would not be able to make it to work that day. Angel decides to lend him the $600 he needed. The regional executives found out about this and fired her. Suddenly, Angel had a lot of time on her hands. While she looked around for another job, she spent her afternoons marketing our blog. She learned about all the social media marketing and opened accounts for us on Facebook, Twitter, and other social networking sites, the primary source of all of our traffic today. We didn't know it then, but the traffic was going to grow exponentially over the next 3 years, and by 2012, our blog would be making enough money to completely replace her lost salary, allowing her to work on it full time and get paid for happily being passionate. If Angel hadn't been fired, none of it would have happened. So I'm sure we can all equate ourselves in some way with some of these stories, yes? Right? So the question is, what do we choose? Finding the gifts, right? I mentioned gifts all throughout that. My son not talking to me being a gift. Not getting that job way back in 1985 being a gift, right? So in order to find the gifts, right? Because finding the gifts in these negative experiences and working towards positive outcomes, right? 2 things. It's not going to give you the time to think through all the negative stuff and just spend your time in that place, right? But it's going to force you, or I hope will want to force you, to think through it and think for the gifts. Search for those aha moments, right? Aha. It's a gift, right? And then put some action behind it. The time it'll take you to do that, by the way, the time is going to pass anyway. Do you choose to be happy, or do you choose to be miserable? The time is going to pass anyway. Think about that, right? And a week can become a month, and a month can become 6 months, and 6 months can become a year. It's going to happen anyway. Why not choose searching for the gifts and creating something positive? You may find something that was never thought about or presented there before. It's happened to me, as you can see, so many times. Search for the aha moments. Accept what you can control. You can't control it all, right? I couldn't control that vice president telling me after the 5th interview, which all along my not having a college degree was told me it didn't matter, now telling me it mattered, right? That was his control. I couldn't control that. That was his control. Outside of but what I could control was my attitude and taking the choice to then go back to school, right? Be in the moment. Again, worry. Does anyone here ever worry? No, I didn't think so, right? Again, a day, a week, a month, 3 months, I get it, right? But if you be in the moment and search for the gifts and think through it, and I will tell you, writing and journaling helps you to do this. Because if you write it down, it becomes more real. Has anyone ever thought, and I know the answer is going to be no, because this has never happened to anyone. Has anyone ever thought of something and said, ooh, wow, it was great. I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to think about it about an hour from now, and then life happens, right? And you have no idea, and maybe you say to yourself, ooh, what was I thinking about? Or chances are, you just forgotten about it completely. Write it down. Inspiration will come if you allow it. Again, you can sit there and worry, you can sit there and wallow in it, or you can choose inspiration. Inspiration may come if you go back in time and think about the events and look for the gifts and act on them. Trust yourself. We're all somewhat advanced in our years. How's that for a politically correct way of saying that we're older? That was pretty cool, right? Me as well. You've all done probably some great work in your life. You don't feel like it right now because you're not doing it, but you've probably done some great things. Write them down, right? And then go back and find ways to replicate it. Go create something that isn't there. Serve others as a source of happiness. Self-explanatory. It's not all about us. It feels all about you right now. It's not all about us. Before I slip to the next slide, there's a hidden word in this slide. Does anyone see it? Who can tell me? Raise your hands. Who can tell me? First hand up. Mark an angel, who I've never met. It's all been done online, over the internet, and over email. No, I'm here today. They gave me permission to tell their story, and they sent me this book, which I've read, 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently, and it's yours.
Oh, okay.
I would ask you to go on their blog and tell them that you want it, and you can even tell them you got it from me, and that so they know that this all really happened. So, and go there and find inspiration. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal place. All right, this is it. This is it. The ingredients to the recipe. All right, every recipe has ingredients, right? Sometimes we make things without ingredients, right? I have a very, very long Italian history in my family, and none of us make our sauce from a recipe. It's all done by, magic and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. However, I would say right now, I would suggest writing down these ingredients, because these are the ingredients to Chuck's Lemonade. Habits. What you choose to do every day. Every day, well, you're all here now, so I can say for sure, we all woke up today, right? But what do you do after you wake up? What do you do for that period of time before you go back to bed and do it all over again? What we do is a choice. Our habits, right? And I get it, it's easy to fall into bad habits, but our habits are eventually what makes all those things I read to you before, right? It makes it all happen, right? And choosing to live with some positive daily habits. And I'm going to say that word habits is probably the most important thing. If you take anything else away with you today, habits is what it's all about. I'm going to take you through my habits in a second. Acceptance. Control what you can, let go of what you can't. Accept it that you can't. I'm going to say about 6 weeks ago, an opportunity that I wasn't, well, it's an opportunity that I had known about for a long time, even though I'm in a new career opportunity right now, had presented itself. And I chose to throw my hat back in the ring. Let's see what happens. You never know. And I went through the process, and I'll be honest with you, I knocked it out of the park. I mean, just absolutely crushed it. And I came in second. Right? When was the last time you remember who won the silver medal? Right? I could control what I could control. I crushed it, knocked it out of the park. I guess someone crushed it a little bit more. I can't control that. I know it's not easy to hear that, but you can't. Accept what you can control and let go of what you can't. It doesn't matter. All it does is create stress and worry and heartache, and it feels awful. And who wants to feel awful? Beach. Find your beach. Anybody like walking on the beach besides me? Pretty good, right? I used to live on the beach. I used to live in a town named Babylon on Long Island in New York. I had the beach right around the corner. Now I live in this place called Austin. I still go out for walks every day. And you know what I do? I make my own beach. It's all up here, right? And I actually post once in a while on Facebook. Hey everybody, I'm out on a walk on the beach. And the picture behind me in my selfie is the Mopac. Right? Find your beach. Put yourself in that place that will allow the journaling, the gratitude, and all the things to come out. So it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Trust, rely on the process. So I told you I'm currently working in a wonderful opportunity in a consulting firm in downtown Austin. And the first startup, and I've been doing this for most of my 30 plus years of professional work. And it's hard starting something from scratch again, right? It was a little easier when I was 30 and I felt a lot more full of life and younger. Not so easy now. So it's not so easy now. I'm tired. I didn't expect to be here. All these things. What's the one thing that was a constant? I had a process. I did it successfully before. You know what? Let's try it again. And guess what? 4 months go by. Tough months, struggle. May, I'm not where I want to be, but first positive cash flow month this year. I relied on the process, and guess what? Guess what? It worked. Right? The same process, right? Different company, different industry, different everything. And I'm in Austin, right? We used to do it in New York, at very different places. It worked. Service. Given you shall receive. The service part is easy, right? The service part is easy. I don't have to do a lot of explaining there. You heard it throughout the whole story part of it, right? Thinking through and putting others first, not focusing on yourself. It's a good thing. So my daily habits. When I tell you these are my daily habits, I mean it. True? First thing I do when the eyes open is I stretch. You know why? Because it helps me avoid injuries at my age. Right? That's just called being smart. It helps me avoid injuries, right? It helps me think. Anyone own a dog or a cat? What is the first thing your dog or cat does when it opens its eyes? Right? And they can't tell you about it. They don't think about it. It's all in here. It's all part of the makeup, right? We're too busy, lighting a cigarette, worrying, thinking about something that happened yesterday that, by the way, yesterday's gone, right? It's over. We're all caught up in all these things that we forget the things that are inside of us and that are natural. And by the way, stretching does avoid injuries. I highly recommend everybody stretch. Second thing I do, grateful. I write an entry in my gratitude journal. What am I grateful for today? Again, it's easy to go to the negative. What am I grateful for today? My eyes open. I'm alive. Fresh air. Oh, by the way, I'm sitting here writing in my gratitude journal, sitting down at the kitchen table, having a cup of coffee. I have a home and a roof over my head. Right? I had dinner last night. I have clean water. It's easy to look past all that stuff, right? But think about it, right? What are you grateful for? It's not that hard. I then answer the question, what would make today great? What would make today great? And I write down. Sometimes it's one thing. Sometimes it's the same thing from the day before, which didn't happen. Sometimes it's 2 things or 3 things. But you consciously then, because you've written it down, you're thinking about it. Maybe it's calling someone you haven't called in a long time. Maybe it's whatever. Whatever could make your day great. But then guess what? You're going to go back and read it the next day. If you didn't do it, and it's something that you should have done, you also have the opportunity to hold yourself accountable. That's important. So writing it down every day helps make it real. Read for inspiration. Read to learn. We graduate high school, and I'm not saying we're all guilty of this, but I know in a big way many are. We graduate high school and we're done. We're done learning. We're done thinking. I did it. I got my diploma, right? I can move on and get my job and do this and get in my career. And we stop learning, right? 1982, for me, graduation from high school was a long time ago. The world's changed a lot in all those years. I don't even want to think about how many years it is, right? There's a lot of reunions. But think about it. We live in a very different place, right? If you don't read and learn and educate yourself, it's going to be very hard to find a new job. It's going to be apparent to the person sitting across from you if they throw a question at you that just may be a challenging question to see if you're up on current events or whatever, right? Just thinking in 2017 and not thinking in 2012 or 2002 or 1992 or 1982. Read to learn. Check something off my to-do list. It's so simple, right? We all have to-do lists. There are all things that have to get done. Check something off your to-do list. Number one, it's encouraging to go back and look that you actually did it, right? Again, that whole accountability thing. The moment you go back and look at something that you've actually checked off, and whatever level of importance that is, that's a whole different story. But when you go back and look at it, you are now in an opportunity to be encouraged that you've done something positive versus, oh, I didn't look at enough help wanted ads today, or all the things that you could find fault with yourself with. Check something off your to-do list, and that's a positive, right? Again, mindset, choice. Exercise. Why? It's good for you, right? Keeps you a little bit younger, keeps you a little bit fresher, helps the mind, right? Get out and walk. While you're out there walking, breathe in the fresh air. Look up at the sky, the wonder of the sky, the wonder of clouds, the wonder of the sun and the moon, right? And that your body does this thing called walking without you even thinking about it, right? It's all good for you, and it keeps your mind off all the negative stuff if you choose it to. You can go out there and walk and be in that same hamster wheel of negative thinking. I definitely discourage that. Ways around that, listen to music. All kinds of ways to distract yourself if you do it, but exercise. Number 7, look at that one. Do things to make others smile, and then in parentheses, do things to make me smile. The reason I write it that way is if you do things to make others smile, the second part's going to happen automatically. Stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on others. Do or learn something new. It goes back to number 4 in a way, right? But challenge yourself. Read something new. Read something different. Learn something new. Again, all things to help put your mind in a place and in a framework that's different. Inspire others. If you're doing numbers 1 through 8, tell others who aren't about it. Right? Inspire others to live happier, to think and be healthier, and all the things that are in the other 8. Inspire others to do the same thing. It feels good. Watch their reaction. Right? If their reaction is negative, try to help them make it a positive. All these things distract you from the lousy feeling that some of us, or all of us, may be feeling today about where we are related to our jobs. And I'm not talking about distracting yourself in a way that you don't look for a job. I'm talking about distracting yourself in a way where you are in a different mind. And number 10, that's easy, right? Love. Love each other. It's easier. Love everything. Love the flowers. Love everything. So, go through it again. Habits. Acceptance. Beach. By the way, I wear my beach on my arm. Inspiration. Trust. Service. These are the ingredients to Chuck's Lemonade. I encourage you all to use these ingredients, love these ingredients, think these ingredients. It's going to put you in a better place. I'm going to give everyone here a 30-day challenge. Start a journal. What am I grateful for today? And write it down. Think about it. What am I grateful for today? I don't care who you are. There is something that you are grateful for today. Family, money in the bank, a car that works, anything, friends, something. The more you think about it, the more that's going to land on that page. And the more you're going to realize, wow, I didn't realize what I had. I didn't realize how lucky I am. Because I promise you this, there are others with less. There are others in worse situations. All we need to do is drive around a little bit and we can all see that. Second challenge, what would make today great? It could be a word, it could be a sentence, something. What would make today great? And then strive for it. Whatever it is. Right? And I get it. What would make today great would be a job. Right? I get that. Right? But what else would make today great? That could help you get in a different mindset, that could put you on a path where the job is going to be an outcome of the life you live and the life you choose. And it's not going to happen by magic. I don't have a magic wand here, right? However, the mindset, the attitude, and all of that absolutely is apparent to that person sitting across from you and makes a big difference. No doubt about it.
Yeah, nobody hired you.
No one hires Eeyore. Are you too old to do anything new? Are you too old to try something new? Too old to go back to school? Too old to invent something? Too old to start your own business? Austin's own John Goodenough, 94 years old, has just proven all of us wrong. Anyone that said, yeah, I'm too old, yeah, I can't do that. So John Goodenough, I'm not going to read the whole story now because we're starting to run a little short on time. John Goodenough is a scientist and inventor whose career probably was greatest in the 70s and 80s. He invented batteries, lithium batteries, and his battery invention was really the launching to, does anyone remember the Sony Walkman? Right? You could walk around the beach and you could do all your stuff and have your Walkman on, and you didn't have a wire attached to you. It wasn't plugged into anything. And it also didn't blow up or go on fire. Thanks to that man right there, who got very little credit for any of it. He made some money, you know, typical salary like anybody else would make along the way. But companies like Sony and others that followed suit in all this, and people like Warren Buffett. And there's a great article on the University of Texas website, because he did his latest, which I'll tell you about, at UT Austin at 94 years old. And there's a great article about all the things that went on in his life and all the opportunity he had to be rich and a bazillionaire and recognized for all the great work that he did, and none of it happened. But guess what? He didn't stop. He didn't give up. He's still doing it. And at 94 years old, he has invented the newest generation of battery, which Tesla is now looking at, to revolutionize the battery-powered car that they believe can go 600 miles without a charge. 94 years old. Again, I'm not giving you every detail from the story. I'm going to challenge you all to go, right? UT News website, and you'll read all about him. Pretty cool. Anybody here under the age of 94? Okay? If he can do it, we can do it. One small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. What am I grateful for today? What would make today great? One small positive thought can change the whole day. Same applies to bad thoughts, right? One bad thought, and I get it, it's easy, but we have a choice when we wake up each morning. Good thought, bad thought. Which are you going to choose? Don't just think about it. Journal it. Write it down. It makes it part of the conscious. And when I told you before, I am now thinking about it the night before, every night. What am I going to write about? What happened today? What are the good things that happened today? You know, who did I touch? Who did I inspire? Whom did I show love to? All these thoughts go through my head. Now I'm trying to go to bed, and I can't because I'm thinking about tomorrow's gratitude journal. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. It's not worry. It's not stress. It's great. What am I going to write about tomorrow? It's exciting. A positive mind finds opportunity in everything. Gifts. A negative mind finds fault in everything. What will you choose? By the way, I see everyone taking pictures of all of this. I'm going to share my email address with you. Too late now, you have all these pictures, but I believe that sometimes the bad times in our life put us on a direct path to the very best times in our life. True statement. If we choose to find the gifts, right? If we don't look for the gifts, all we do is see the bad times, right? But if we dig underneath a little bit, or sometimes really deep, and yes, sometimes it could take you to a very dark place. However, if you then uncover the gift and write it down, and it becomes part of your consciousness, very different. Today, I have launched a brand new website named Chuck's Lemonade, and it's www.chuckmakeslemonade.com. I would encourage you all to go there. I would love for you to register, send me some feedback, send me some comments, send me your stories. I would love to be able to incorporate some of your stories in my website as this continues to grow. Or you can just share your stories with me at chuckmakeslemonade.com. So to wrap this all up, right? Chuck's lemonade recipe. Habits. Acceptance. Beach. Inspiration. Trust. Service. Now what do you do with all of it? Mix it all together, stir it gently, and enjoy your life. Turn lemons into lemonade.